SpongeBob my ass.
I'm only 4. Bonjour, Monsieur Pussycat.
Cracking toast, Robert.
Start spreading the news.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the short podcast about short films. I am your host, and we are discussing the Academy Award for Best Animated Short. Today's episode is about the 33rd year of the award at the 37th Academy Awards, which celebrates the films of 1964. Today's guest is returning for the third time, most recently talking about Tweety Pie and the nominees of 1947. Please welcome host of the Lone Acting Nominees podcast, Gordon McNulty. Hello, Gordon.
Hello, excited to be back again. Excited to be talking about the shorts we're talking about. This is going to be a fun one.
This definitely will be a fun one. I'm really excited for today. But remind us, what is your familiarity with the Best Animated Short category?
So it's I grew up on especially a lot of the older short, like animated shorts of like Looney Tunes and Disney stuff, but mostly the more mainstream ones. And so there's always when I'm going through the older years of this category, every once in a while I'll come across one that I had seen before and didn't realize I had seen before, or didn't realize got Oscar nominated or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
For example, this year there's one of them that I started watching it for this and I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this one. It's always fun to sort of go back, especially with a category like this, and see what the sort of, I don't know, what the tenor of nominations and the types of animated shorts that we're getting recognized, because it's a medium that has changed a lot over the years, as evidenced by like none of these nominees that we're going to be talking about today are in any way similar to the type that you get nowadays. It's like the field of animation, for better or worse, has changed so much in these past like 60 years.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's like as you experience, it's like when I have a guest return on this podcast. The last time I had them, they were in the 30s and 40s, and now they're suddenly in the 60s. And like there's such a huge gap in terms of like the style and the kind of stories we're discussing. It's just like it's fun to see their reactions, because like you go from like, let's say, just a typical Tom and Jerry short to like just the like a foreign Zagreb film kind of thing, and it's just like it's two different worlds. And it that's part of why I really like having people come back again and again, first to like just keep introducing them to more and more shorts, but also just so they can also see the growth of the category. From the studio era to like this weird kind of experimental area, and then going into like Pixar and beyond later on. It's a lot of fun to watch this growth, and it's why I'm doing this category, this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, let's get into these nominees. This year has 4, and it'll be the first. It's the first year with less than 5 since 1959, and we won't see a full 5 nominees for another 10 years.
Interesting.
The first nominee and the year's winner is The Pink Phink, directed by Friz Freleng and Holly Pratt. This is the second nomination and first win for both Freleng and David H. DePatie, whom, after the closure of Warner Brothers Animation, formed DePatie-Freleng Enterprises to keep making films. One of their first jobs was from the Beerish Company to animate the opening sequence for their film The Pink Panther, a crime comedy starring David Niven. The film became a hit, but not for the reasons that the producers originally intended. Though David Niven was a top-billed actor, it was Peter Sellers as Inspector Clouseau who stole the show. More audiences were in love with the score by Henry Mancini, and of course loved the opening credits, featuring a literal Pink Panther, though in the film, the Pink Panther is just a diamond. Immediately, a series of shorts featuring the Pink Panther character were commissioned, and DePatie-Freleng delivered. The Pink Phink was the first short they made, and as you can see, gave the character its first Oscar nomination and win, with the character of the Little Man, who is based on the Inspector Clouseau caricature from the opening credits of the original film. Although it's also said that the character was meant to be a caricature of Friz Freleng himself, and was known behind the scenes as Big Nose. And further, in the 2010 Cartoon Network series Pink Panther and Pals, Little Man had been officially renamed to Big Nose. Anyway, And the Pink Fink, the little man is trying to paint his house blue. The Pink Panther has a distaste for the color and tries to paint it pink instead, and thus the great big guy little guy conflict ensues. Gordon, start us off. What did you think of the Pink Fink?
This is the one that I had seen before. It had been a while, but I mean, I love the Pink Panther in general. I think that it's a character and a an art style that you can get a lot out of, especially like even with something like this where it's such a simple premise, which is two people trying to paint things two different colors. And yeah, they milk that premise for all it's worth in a way that I think is really fun. I do love just the character design of the guy. What did you say?
The
his
little
name was?
man.
Little man, yes. Literally a big guy, little guy. I also do like that this subverts the big guy, little guy by having the little guy be the angry one. I mean, not subverts it. That's the Bugs Bunny and his adversaries thing anyway.
Yeah.
But at least in terms of the way that I established big guy, little guy as a
Yeah.
thing.
And I just want to mention like how much I've been talking about like big guy little guy on this podcast. From your episode onward, it's just like every single episode it was like, oh, we have yet another big guy little guy dynamic here.
It's a dynamic that they really loved in the early days of like the first few decades of animated shorts.
Exactly.
And for good reason. You can like sort of you can do so much with those because it's such a basic sort of stock big guy, little guy. That's all you really have to go off. So you can make them whatever you want. You can make them a tiny pointy guy and a big pink cat or whatever else you want it to be. Like, there's so much you can do with just that concept. And I just think this is a really funny one.
This is absolutely hilarious. First of all, I just love the design of the Pink Panther himself. It is such a perfect character design, like one of the best in all of like animated short history. Like it is such a good character. The way he slinks around everywhere, is so like he's so tall and thin. It's so perfect.
The facial expressions are really fun. They do a lot with his face.
God, it's just so good. But yeah, it's like this is a short that's just extremely simple in its concept, but that is why it also works really well. Like I've talked about before how like the Looney Tunes like style of short where it's just like you have this setup and then it's like very segmented gags where it's just like you have Sylvester try one way to get Tweety, and then that bit ends, and then moves on to another way he tries to catch Tweety, and then that ends, and it's just like it keeps going like that until we reach an ending. And it's like while this one is set up a lot like that, it's very quick about it. It like each segment only lasts as long as it needs to, and I also think the music helps a lot because it's it's very continuous and it's very it all just lulls you into this very nice mood and it's just like it just moves so much better than in like some of those Sylvester Tweety or Roadrunner Coyote cartoons. And it's just like I love this is just so fun, and it's just like it is extraordinarily simple, yes, but that is why it works. That is why it's so funny. And it's just like, and the way it all builds, it's just like it starts out they're just painting this one wall, but then by the end of it, it's like painting the whole world.
Yeah,
it's just amazing.
And that's another thing that I have always loved about the Pink Panther shorts in general is that like usually with this type of big guy little guy dynamic, it's one character is trying to get the other one, is trying to like get in like a predator prey situation. You're trying to eat them or kill them or whatever, and obviously that's never going to happen. But with the Pink Panther, he's just like hell-bent on causing minor inconveniences to people around him, and making them really angry and then just not being fazed by it whatsoever. It's a very fun dynamic with that character because all he's doing is just painting stuff, and the little man gets so angry. And I mean they also do a lot with his character design. It's a very fun character design, and it allows him to be very expressive while also being this little tiny pointy dude. And I don't know, I really like watching this guy get so angry at the color pink being there.
Mhm.
Very fun. Very fun.
Yeah. And it also does a good job of like building like the two's relationship, I guess, because it's like at first, the little man, like he doesn't realize what's happening. Like he's just like, oh, why is that pink? And just paints over. But then he starts like finding the footprints, and it's just like, oh, this is like a mouse. For some reason, is his first assumption.
Yeah.
It's just like
Big pink mouse.
and then he's just like he gets the mousetrap and stuff, and then eventually he finds the Pink Panther, and then it's like, oh, you're the guy who's fucking shit up. I'm I'm gonna fucking stop you, but he doesn't, of course.
Of
But
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just so good. This is like a gold standard kind of short film where it's just like you could study this in schools and just to unravel like why this thing works so well.
Exactly.
Mhm.
You can tell also in watching it that this is their first outing with this character on like a short film scale where they're like, okay, let's explore let's not go too crazy with it. Let's not make it too over the top, but like let's see what we can do with this character. And you can see where things would go from there. What was it the first last time I was on, was it the first Tom and Jerry
Uh,
short that I was on for? No.
no, you weren't on for the first Tom and Jerry short.
I feel like it was some first of no, I was on
It was
for
the
a
first Tweety Sylvester short.
Yes, that's what it was. And like that's one that you can tell like, okay, but where do you go from here? They kind of sort of do everything with those characters in that first one.
Mhm.
And obviously they do take it from there in many other shorts. But with this one you can tell like, okay, they're giving this guy a specific situation, but the character and the dynamic is ripe for all sorts of situations. I can understand why people would watch this short and be like, "Oh, I want to see this cat get up to more stuff."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another thing that's interesting about this short is that I'm not entirely sure about this, but I think it's the only instance where like a character wins for their debut short film. Because it's like we've had previous like nominees where it's like we did have the first Tom and Jerry short nominated, the first Bugs Bunny short was nominated, things like that, but those didn't end up winning. Oh wait, no, I'm just remembering. Speedy Gonzalez also did that. His first short was also a winner. But yeah, it's a rare thing to just win on your first short film, but they did it, and it's also, I think it's also the first short from a DePadding Freeling as well. So it's like, but of course they're also longtime animators and producers, so it's
Yeah.
like it's not that special for them.
Yeah.
But yeah,
One thing I did want to ask you as this sort of de facto historian for the category, how often, like, what would you say is the spread of winning shorts that don't have dialogue, like at all?
ooh. Winning shorts that don't have dialogue. Well, actually, recently in this category, we have seen a few. Like Airsats doesn't have any dialogue. It's just a guy just humming along. Um, I'd say for like a long, well, actually, even the early days with like the silly symphonies, like some of those didn't have any dialogue. Like Flowers and Trees had no dialogue, and that was the first winner in this category. But I think it yeah, I don't really know like any specifics, but it's like there are
Yeah.
definitely a few like dialogueless winners throughout the category. Like there's the Milky Way, or maybe Three Orphan Kittens. One of those is like dialogueless. It's just like three cats kind of roaming around being cute. Who has just like, yeah, it's definitely, oh, and of course like Tom and Jerry and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like there's plenty of them, though it's not like standard, because of course we also get like some Looney Tunes in there. Those have lots of dialogue. We have like a storybook kind of shorts like Gerald McBoing Boing, which like there's a narrator over the whole thing, and it's just like it's probably an even split, but leaning more towards dialogue than silent.
Okay, that makes sense. I was just curious because 3 out of 4 of these nominees are completely dialogueless, and I was wondering how often that was the case.
Oh yeah, I just realized that. Yeah, I just hadn't noticed that. It's interesting. It's like I'm on the Wikipedia page now. I'm like looking at the next few years. It's like we have the Dawn on the Line next year that has dialogue, but then Herb Alpert and Tijuana Brass double feature is dialogue less. That's just music. It's just Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Interesting. One other thing I did want to mention about this short that I thought was very funny. Um, I always love when these types of cartoons that seem like perfectly harmless, or the stakes are very low, and then a character just gets a regular gun.
Hmm.
I always think that's a good gag with these, like, oh, we're painting and it's making me really mad. It's making me so mad I'm gonna shoot this thing with an actual gun with actual bullets. It's always a fun escalation in these types of
Hmm.
shorts. Yeah.
Yeah, the noise that the Pink Panther makes when he gets shot is very funny too. Like it's just
Very.
like a little
Yeah.
like boing, or I don't even know how to describe it. Like I can't make that noise, but it's a
Yeah.
very weird noise. But yeah, uh, I just want to keep talking about this, but I also kind of want to move on to our other shorts because this is probably the most normal of these four shorts.
Oh, certainly.
So it's just like I kind of want to get into these other ones. So, but yeah, let's move on to our second nominee, which is Christmas Cracker, directed by Jeff Hale, Norman McLaren, Grant Monroe, and Gerald Potterton. The Academy lists the nominee merely as National Film Board of Canada, but the producer is Tom Daly, who is receiving his third nomination, previously nominated for The Romance of Transportation in Canada and My Financial Career. This short features three different animated segments, each one divided by footage of a clown man dancing about. First is two children dancing to Jingle Bells. Second has a bunch of children's toys coming to life. And third has a man searching for the perfect star to put on his Christmas tree. Now, I want to start this off by saying I hate the fucking clown. Like, I love him.
Yeah.
He is so fucking weird, but I hate looking at him. I enjoy the artistic decision to have this fucking clown here, and I like the animation involved with him, but I hate his stupid fucking face, and I want to punch him.
Yes, I do not like this Canadian clown. He's not a good one.
This Christmas clown, and just like, and there's just it's very brief, like the interstitching segments. Like it's just a little like pop, and then it's like okay, on to the next one. So it's just like it's just very weird to even have him in the first place instead of just like releasing these three shorts separately. But then again, these are like 1 or 2 minutes long. Well,
If
the
that.
length varies,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a weird short.
it is. But I had fun with it. I
I
thought.
did.
I mean, certain segments more. I really liked the third segment. I thought that had some good gags. They were all good for their own different reasons and in their own different ways. But
Yeah.
yeah, this was an interesting one.
Let's take them one by one. So first we have the two children dancing the Jingle Bells. I liked it,
Uh,
but it went a bit long.
yeah, it's just because it's like South Park style cutout, like paper shapes,
Yeah.
moving their little like shape bodies to Jingle Bells, and that's it.
Yeah, I like the way
It's
they
fun.
dance.
Yeah,
I like the music, but it goes on for like, I think like 2 minutes, and it's just like I got the gist after one. It
yeah,
doesn't evolve itself in any way. It's just cute little dancing thing, and it's fine for what it is. Okay, second one. We have the children's toys who are coming to life. There's a race and a bunch of stuff is happening. I love this one. This segment was really good.
yeah.
It's just very energetic, very fun. I think they do some interesting things with all the different toys. Like I think there's one of them where, like, first you have all these toys going around racing, and then I forget which toy it was, but I think it's like one of the cars gets like surrounded by all these different like robots or whatever. And that one was fun. It's
Yeah.
like yeah,
Oh no.
a lot of stuff is just happening.
Yeah. Can I say this whole short feels very creepy?
Yes.
Like the clown itself is really creepy, and then the maybe it's just the version that I watched, but like the intonation of all the music every once in a while it like dips in quality and sort of
Oh yeah.
warps and like skips like half a second every once in a while. Uh I felt like I was watching some sort of like something I wasn't supposed to be watching, even though the content of the short never delves into the uncanny or the creepy itself. Just like I felt like I was watching some sort of lost tape of some sort of I don't know, and
Yeah.
especially with like the part where the one toy gets surrounded by all the others, and you get very close up shots of these like stop motion toys moving really jittery. It was very unsettling in a way that I really appreciated, even though that probably wasn't the intention of the actual the animators. I thought it evoked a sort of uncanny feeling, which was kind of fun for this Canadian Christmas short.
Yeah, like I'm a bit disappointed that the only full copy I could find was like a very degraded kind of film transfer or whatever, because like NFB usually has like a bunch of their short films just available on like their YouTube channel or their website. And it's like I this one just wasn't uploaded or whatever, and that's disappointing. And it's like it came up a bit in like I really noticed it in the third short, which I guess we can just move on to that one now, with the man trying to find a perfect thing to top his Christmas tree. It's like when he first cuts out like this little paper star and puts it on, it plays like some Christmas music, forget what, but it's just like it's just so extremely distorted. And it's just like it's hard to listen to, and I can't. And it's like I
Very
can't
unsettling.
I
Yeah.
can't tell like what the emotion I'm supposed to get from that, because it's just like the effect of like the film and the audio quality like changes it so much. It's just like, is this supposed to be like, oh, this is it, oh, this is pathetic, or oh, this is like Christmas joy? But it's like the guy who goes to find his a different star because he's not satisfied with the paper one. So I don't know, but this segment goes on way too long. It goes on for it's like takes up half the short, or it's like
Yeah.
4 minutes, and it's just like yeah, it just takes its time, and it's just like that's not a bad thing. But also when it's the third of three shorts, it's like, and you've been set up to expect like, oh, very very bite-sized thing. Hey, it goes on for much longer than you expected to.
Yeah. But excuse me, there is some stuff in there that I think is pretty fun. I like when he puts the other things on the top of the tree that he just pulls out of his pocket, like the pineapple and the boot and the frog. And at the end of that point, when the frog jumps away, he just sort of like sits down on the top of the ladder and puts his head in his hands. And it's a
Mhm.
very simple character design, but he looks so exasperated that I almost wish the short just ended there, because it was such a funny punchline. And like I do like the stuff where he gets in the rocket ship, even if
Mhm.
it takes a while, because that it just looks cool. But if you end the short right there with him just sitting on the top of the ladder and just sort of staring off into the mid distance, it's almost like a Don Hertzfeldt style like anti joke punchline, where just this guy tries to put things on the top of this tree and nothing works, and he just has a crisis about it and it ends.
Yeah.
Like that feels very rejected, very
Yeah,
very yeah. I did I like that moment. I laughed out loud. It was very very good.
that'd be
uh
fun. Yeah, I love the boot. I think that my favorite one was the boot. I wish he just kept the boot on there.
yeah, I like that frog because I didn't know what it was at first. It was just a little like blob with eyes, and then it ends up being a frog and it leaps away with it. But for a second I thought he just had like some sort of alien being in his pocket, that it was just like a blob with eyes, but no,
Mhm.
it was a frog.
It was a frog. You might think it's just a blob with eyes, but it was a frog.
Oh well.
Anything else about this one? I feel like we kind of went through it pretty well.
Yeah, I like the music. It's one of those like the
It's
version that the version that you said that has the sort of degraded quality. It is interesting the way it works. I kind of want to like steal that audio and use it as the backdrop for some other project, just like with all the weird bumps and stops and turns, not just for that segment but for the whole thing. I feel like if you just take the music from it, because this is another one that doesn't have any dialogue, and have it be these little sections, I might actually try to make a project where I use the audio from this short for something else. So at the very least, I'm glad that it inspired me to potentially make something else with it, which is
yeah.
fun.
This short should have been in Skinamarink.
Yes, I was getting very Skinamarink vibes from the parts where it skips. Have you talked at all about Skinamarink on this podcast yet?
No, I think this is probably like the first episode I've recorded since watching it, or maybe not. I've been recording a lot of episodes recently. I don't
Okay.
know.
Skinamarink is very good. Anyone out there, go see it.
Yeah.
I think it's still playing in theaters. It
Oh,
should be.
well, this is gonna come out in March, so probably
Ah,
not.
so probably not.
But
But
it'll probably be on like Shudder or something by then.
oh yeah, because I think Shutter is picking it up.
Yeah. So yeah,
Okay,
this comes out March 2nd.
cool. Okay, yeah, go see Skinamarink wherever it is available by then, because it's very good and thematically relevant in some ways to
Uh,
this podcast.
Though also be wary if you are like a person who is like easily scared, easily unnerved. It's a very creepy. It's slow first of all, but it's very it's filled with dread and terror. It's an uncomfortable watch.
Oh, very much so, but it's very good.
Very good. Yes. I think that's a good point to move on to our third nominee, which is Here's Nudnik, originally titled Nudnik 2, directed by Gene Deitch. This is the third nomination for producer William L. Snyder and Rembrandt Films, previously being nominated for Self-Defense for Cowards and the Oscar-winning film Monroe. The story behind Nudnik starts with William L. Snyder and Paramount Studios, the distributor for Rembrandt's films, wanting Deitch to develop a new character. So he makes the character of Nudnik, an updated version of an undeveloped clown character named Foofle from his time at Terrytoons. And the name was taken from the Yiddish word for clumsy. Or, well, that's what Deitch intended. Nudnik is really the Yiddish word for like bore, like someone who's boring. And he was thinking of Schlemmel. I I'm butchering that word. I am sorry. Uh, but what's done is done, and Nudnik is a fun name either way. In Deitch's word, Nudnik is a homeless, or he is homeless in an unrelentingly hostile and ugly world. Every person, every animal, and even every object inexplicably hates him on sight. Yet he is constantly cheerful, helpful, and hopeful, trying yet failing spectacularly at even the most simple tasks. There were 12 Nudnik cartoons made in total, almost a miracle considering the state of animated shorts at this time, and this is the only one with an Oscar nomination. So, how is dear old Nudnik introduced to the world? Well, poor Nudnik, he's so hungry. He just wants something to eat. He has flour and water, and so he tries to make bread. And everything that can go wrong does go wrong. Gordon, what did you think of Here's Nudnik?
I thought it was fine. I thought there was some good gags. It's I don't know. It's fine. I don't have anything negative to say about it. There's some good. I mean, I'm just saying the exact same thing I just said because I don't have that much more to say about it. It's a good premise that I think doesn't wear thin. I think they very much capitalize on the everything that can go wrong will go wrong idea for this the cooking premise, and it's good. It's fun.
Yeah,
I don't think it's anything necessarily revolutionary. I don't think there's anything that really wows me, but that's not a bad thing. I don't think everything has to wow me. I think it was just a good, fun short that I enjoyed.
Yeah, I first of all, I just love the design of Nudnik. I think he is so cute, and I want to protect him with all my might.
That's
Uh,
very true.
he is my little baby boy. But the short around him, I think it's a good short. I think the whole cooking thing is an idea that's been done to death by so many other shorts. There's one of my favorites is Chef Donald, the Donald Duck short, and that one is a lot of fun. But yeah, it's just like I appreciate just how down on his luck Nudnik already is. Like he lives in this pretty barren apartment. He has very little money to his name. He's wearing rags, and it's like all he has is water and flour. He just wants to make some bread, and just like when he goes to get the flour, something bad happens. When he goes to get water from his sink, some more bad happens, and it's just like it all. I think it just builds on each other in a beautiful way. Hey, where it's like the bad things that happen never like the like him trying to get the water and then the sink breaks or whatever and the water just keeps flowing. Hey, it's just like that in that keeps coming back to keep like biting that like in the ass. It's like he has to keep like dumping out the water that he has in like this little uh trough or whatever. I forget what it was.
It's a little like bathtub thing.
Yeah, there's a hole in the side, which I love. That little like the little
Yeah.
hole in the side of the tub, like doesn't impact anything. It's just a nice little detail.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like he keeps having to dump it out, which of course, as he's dumping it out, that will affect something later in the short. So it has a good sense of like everything that's happening is still happening. It doesn't just disappear. And so it's just like it's a really well made kind of comedic short film that I really appreciate. Hey, and just like it's a lot of fun. I love Nudnik. I love this. Well, I think love might be a strong word. It's a really good short. It's not one of my
Yeah,
favorites, but yeah, I just really enjoyed watching it. It's a lot of fun. Really
yeah,
cute.
it is a lot of fun. I do like, you're right, the character design is very sweet, very you do just want to help him. But also you want to see him fail
Hmm.
because it's very funny to
Yeah.
see bad things happen to this guy.
He really just is like a clown. It's just like you watch him and you laugh at him until you also feel kind of sorry for him. But at the end of the day, you're here to laugh at him.
Yeah, at the end of the day, what's the worst thing that happens to him? He blends all of his life savings into a piece of bread that isn't very good, and his whole house basically falls apart. And so, yeah, bad stuff happens to him. Actively bad stuff does happen to him.
You're
But
like, what's the worst thing that happens to him? His whole life is ruined.
well, yeah, but like he's a cartoon character. He'll have a modicum of grace to fall from by the beginning of the next short. Uh,
Oh yeah,
as is the way of the cartoon character.
yeah. I
But yeah, no,
really,
I
I really want to check out the other Nunnik cartoons. I want to see like how what else they do with this character.
yeah, for sure. I feel like there's plenty of opportunities. Again, like with the Pink Panther one, like there's so much more that you can build off because they don't waste the whole premise in one go.
Hmm.
They put them in one situation, but you can see where they could take this in so many other situations in the future. Yeah, it would be interesting to see what some of these others are. Maybe they're all terrible and this is the only one that got nominated because it's the only good one.
Yeah, I
I
think
have no way of knowing.
I remember looking at the short list, and it's like I think there are like two other Nunnik shorts, maybe just one, that were shortlisted but didn't get nominated in the end. So who knows why that was? Maybe they're worse. I don't know,
Who
but
knows?
maybe I'll watch them someday. Uh, but yeah, we'll move on to our fourth and final nominee, which is How to Avoid Friendship, sometimes
Hell yeah.
subtitled A Guide to Friendless Living, directed by Gene Deitch. This is the fourth and final nomination for William L. Snyder and Rembrandt Films. Thus, we get our last bit of details from Dean Deitch's book, How to Succeed in Animation. What does he tell us about the end of Rembrandt Films? Well, William L. Snyder, it turns out, was not very good at making money, but rather good at conning people out of their money. So he was able to trick people like Gene Deitch to work for him for very little money, but not so good at paying the Czech government, ending up in a lot of debt and having a very bad reputation in Czechoslovakia. And Deitch's contract with Snyder ended in 1968, giving him the opportunity to leave Snyder in the mess he made for himself and move on to working with Weston Woods, who made films based on popular children's books to be shown in classrooms and libraries, and gave Deitch quite a cozy position there, where he stayed for 25 years. It's with Weston Woods that Deitch made perhaps his most famous film, Where the Wild Things Are. As for Snyder, I can't find a damn thing about him after the 60s, outside of the fact that he eventually died. Going back to How to Avoid Friendship, this is part of a series of films parodying self help guides by Gene Deitch, just like previous nominee Self Defense for Cowards. Just want to mention, Gene Deitch mentions in his book that he's the first animation director to have multiple nominees in the same year. I just want to say that that's false. Chuck Jones did it in 1961, Robert Cannon in 1956, Friz Freleng in 1941, Rudolph Ising in 1940, Clyde Geronimi in 1939, David Hand in 1935, and Burt Gillett did it in the very first year of the award. So sorry, Deitch, you made a lot of waves in animation, but you're the eighth person to have directed two animated short nominees in the same year. Sorry for the tangents. How to Avoid Friendship is a self-help guide for people who do not wish to make friends, find ways to avoid it by showing you the various types of potential friends and how to ward them off. I like this short. I think it's very funny. I think it does a good job. It is another like segmented kind of short, but like with Self-Defense for Cowards, uh I think this one is just it works really well with this format, and I think it has some really good jokes in there. Like my favorite one is uh when the guy is just staring blankly at
Yeah.
the guy like that the animation on that, like the darkness around his eyes, it's just like it's such a good bit, and the way it comes back at the end is very, very good. uh,
Yeah.
what about you, Gordon?
I had a lot of fun with this one. I think there's some really good gags in here. It's another one that I think I really just I admire the premise of it. Of here's a self-help video for how to isolate people, how to push people away when they're trying to be friendly towards you. It's a very good sort of satirical bit that I think again delivers on its premise very well without like overstaying its welcome, without getting too sappy or whatever. I think it's a very funny idea that they execute pretty well. I like just the animation style where everyone is like the line art and they're all one monochrome color. Everything about I think that's a cool character design. I like the voiceover narration. I think it feels right for the for this type of video. I just think it's really fun. I laughed out loud at several jokes, especially the one that you mentioned with the staring right at them, look straight into their eyes until they back off, just like weird them the fuck out. But then like as it goes on, like the guy that shakes your hand too much, give him like a plastic bag of egg and vinegar and chicken meat, or chicken fat. The guy that tries to join you at the dinner table, start to eat him. The guy that tries to stop you on the street, call the cops on him or put on a scary mask. If people come and visit you at your house, pretend you have a lion in your house. It's all like the escalation of from each bit is very funny, and I think I like the character designs. Like I said, I like the voice of the guy that like the sort of repeating voice of the person that is coming to try to be friends with this guy.
The how you
well,
doing,
if
Charlie,
it
or
ain't
whatever.
Charlie, the one that like
Charlie.
sounds surprisingly like Danny DeVito, especially with the way he says Charlie. It sounds so much like DeVito, and It's Always Sunny.
It's weird how like it. I liked how it like echoes or whatever. It's like the weird.
It's very creepy in a cool way.
So you need to make your film or whatever using Christmas Cracker and the how if it ain't Charlie. Combine it all.
I very well might. I think there's a lot of stuff you can do with the music and sound. This is the one that has voiceover out of all of these four. Yeah, no, I really liked this one. And then the punchline at the end is a very good bit. It's because I didn't see it coming. I didn't expect that to be the way it goes, but it's such a perfect payoff for everything. Where the narrator is talking to the subject of this short, saying like, well, now that we know each other, do you want to go get lunch or something? And just like slowly backing off because the guy starts staring right at the camera using that technique of like stare at them until they're uncomfortable and they leave. And like, oh well, I just thought, now that we know each other a little bit better, maybe that you would want to and then it just ends. It's a very, very good punchline.
Very good. Yeah, this is just a very solid, very well made short. I really enjoyed it. This is just a good lineup. I'm very glad that this lineup is as good as it is, because like we get some bad lineups now and then, but this is not one of them.
Yeah, there's no fat here. It's all nice and trim, and they're all short. Like the longest one is Christmas Cracker, and that's still like 9 minutes. All the others are 6-ish or so, 6+. It's very, very breezy. I got them all done in like half an hour.
Yeah, it's very good that it's like, because like last year we had like a symposium popular songs, which is over 20 minutes.
Oh boy.
Like, yeah, you get some long ones, especially like as this category goes on. Like as we get later, there's some really long ones in there because they started out as like TV specials, like 30-minute specials.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, yeah. And like the Wallace and Gromit ones are all really long, and it's like, yeah.
At least those like don't.
Well, yeah.
At least those are.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to be like a long short. It's just
for sure.
Like, things get longer. Usually or sometimes it's really well, like Wallace and Gromit. Sometimes it doesn't do well. But at this time, and even earlier than now, it's like things are pretty well done. It's like only Disney really seems to have the long short films, because like they currently hold the record where it's like Noah's Ark, I think, from 1950 whatever, or that's the longest one at just over 20 minutes as well. And then they break their own record with Winnie the Pooh in 1968. Hey, and so yeah, it's just like Disney just like pushes the length a lot, whereas nobody else really wants to because it's short films.
Yeah. Yeah. At a certain point, why would you?
Exactly. And I think that's a good place to move on. So we've gone through all four of our nominees today, and we will now rank them all. Gordon, start us off with your number four.
I really don't even know. I guess the one that I would like, I just watched them right before we started recording. So I'm gonna base this on which one would I most want to rewatch right away. And I think, well, I don't know. I might put Here's Nudnik at number four, even
Interesting.
though I still really like that one, just because like I don't know. I don't even really know if I have a reason. It's just all on personal vibes. That feels like a number four for me. Again, not a bad thing. I think it's still very fun.
All right, interesting. My number four is Christmas Cracker, just because it's the most inconsistent out of these shorts because it's like there's some parts that I really like, some parts I don't. It's just like it's a real mixed bag, which I think is the intended point. It's supposed to be like, a Christmas cracker. You break it open, you get all these random things inside it. It's just like, hey, Christmas cracker. But yeah, that's my number four. Number three.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Christmas Cracker at number three. Just I think the only reason I put it above Here's Nudnik is because I have the bias of I liked the Sonic quality of it, and also that one gag that I really loved with the guy sitting on the ladder and just staring.
Mhm.
Those two moments alone, or those two aspects alone, are I think enough to put it over, just because it stands out in my mind as its own thing as a result of that.
My number three is Here's Nudnik. We flipped here, but
Yeah.
yeah, it Here's Nudnik is a very good, very fun short. I just didn't like it as much as the other two. It's a very solid short film. Glad I watched it. Glad it was nominated. Maybe you people at home could watch it too. Get some Nudnik in your life. Come on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, number two.
I'm gonna go with the Pink Fink at number two. Uh, not for any failings of its own, but just because I didn't like it as much as How to Avoid Friendship.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason. The again, these are all really good. It's hard to put any sort of ranking on them because I think they're all very fun.
Mm-hmm. It seems we flipped again because my number two is How to Avoid Friendship, which is a very fun short, or it's very funny. It has a good premise, good setup, good everything. But I just did not love it as much as the Pink Fink, which I think is just a gold standard kind of short film. Or, like I said, it's a film you could. I say this about a lot of them, but it's like really a true thing. It's something that's important because, like, to study it's something you could really study and just like really point out like what makes this thing work. And it's just like it's just a very good, very solid short film. And it's just like I feel like I could watch this over and over again and love it every time.
Yeah, exactly. I cannot fault you for that placement because I agree with everything you just
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, it's just we got a good lineup here. I'm very happy about this. It's
Yeah,
like
I'm glad you picked this one because this wasn't one that I had picked out myself. This is one that you asked me
right.
to stand in for, and I'm very glad that you did because I enjoyed the hell out of all of these.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I always pick out I think you picked out a couple later ones, but like most of the episodes, it's like I'm giving handing them out to you.
Yeah,
That's with most of my guests. I very few people even know enough about the category to be like I want to do this here. It's like it's really just Christoph and Ronaldo who've
yeah,
like seen all the nominees and it's like okay, I want to be on this episode, and so.
that absolutely tracks with both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like sometimes they pick out like the really good episodes, sometimes they want to be on the really bad episodes.
I mean, there's joy in those as well as I've had on my own show. I've done
Mhm,
some real stinkers, and they're very fun to talk about.
mhm.
That's always the sort of dichotomy of it is you can sometimes get more mileage out of a conversation about something you really dislike rather than something you passively enjoy.
Exactly. Like I'm really excited for the two really bad episodes both of them picked like Christoph has the Crunch Bird, which is
Ooh.
also the short film that is like the profile picture for this whole podcast. And Ronaldo picked Sunday in New York, which is another infamous kind of nominee. Although I think he picked it more for one of the good nominees in there, but it's still a really fun year. But yeah, this is just a bunch of meaningless words to you. You don't know what these short films are.
I know the Crunch Bird. I've seen the
Oh,
Crunch Bird, actually. Yeah.
we watched the Crunch Bird. Why?
Uh, because it's the shortest one, right? It's the shortest
Oh yeah,
ever.
yeah.
Is it the shortest ever nominee in any category? Is that right?
It's the shortest winner.
That's right.
The
Shortest nominee is the Pez one.
Yeah, it's the fresh guacamole.
Yes, which if nobody's picked that one, I might have to sneak my way into that as well, because
someone's definitely picked it.
that makes sense. Yeah,
I am booked all the way through 2019 right now.
Oh wow, hell yeah.
Well, a lot of it is just me like putting in like, oh, I think this person would be good. Yes, and it's just like just trying to manage all the different people I want to have on the podcast and also want to bring back. And so it's just like I've planned in advance too much.
For sure. I'm the same way.
But yes. All right. But before we end our show, are there any final thoughts you'd like to share, Gordon, or anything you'd like to promote?
No final thoughts in particular on these nominees. Again, I think they're all very good, very fun. They're all on YouTube, so I recommend them wholeheartedly. 2 thumbs up for all of them. As far as plugging, I have my own podcast that you name dropped at the beginning. It's the Lone Acting Nominees podcast. I talk about different movies that only received 1 Oscar nomination, and it's in one of the acting categories. Just today, as far as recording, but several months ago, by the time this comes out, I put out my episode on Before Night Falls. Yeah, I think it's a fun show. Other people seem to think it's a fun show, so I'll go with that. Yeah, it's on Twitter and Letterboxd at Lone Acting Noms, on Instagram at the Lone Acting Nominees. You can find the actual podcast itself on, I think, every platform where you can find podcasts, or at least most of them. Yeah, go check that out. It's I have fun with it.
Yeah, and the Oscar nominations just came out, so it's like you now have like After Sun and To Leslie and Causeway on the table, which is
Blonde. Don't forget Blonde.
Oh, I forgot Blonde was one nominated, 2 was a solo nominee.
Yep.
So those are 4 very different, and 3 of them are actually pretty good. One of them
I've only seen one so far, so we'll After Sun.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see where things end up.
Yeah, I imagine there's going to be a lot of people clamoring for that To Leslie episode.
So far, I haven't actually. I haven't had it. I've had a bunch of people clamor for After Sun.
Oh, of course.
At least one for Blonde, in like the I'll take it so no one else has to category.
Of course.
But
well, I will be the first person to throw my hat into the ring for To Leslie then.
Fair enough. I'm gonna wait at least a year before I tackle this year at all. But yeah, I will absolutely keep that in mind in that case, because there's a lot to unpack with that one.
Yeah, that's a very fun string of events. That I'm very curious to see, like, if we can get To Leslie the win here.
I mean, it would be a real championship for small films with big hearts.
Small films with big. Where did they even start? Like, I keep seeing people like mean that, but it's like I don't know, like, if that was just something people kept on saying about it.
I think what that was is that, so like a lot of people that were promoting it, a lot of the big names that were promoting it were, drafting their own tweets of praise for it. But someone did compile a screenshot of like 5 or 6 or 7 different people that just used the exact same word for word copy paste To Leslie is a small film with a big heart, etc., tweets. Mm-hmm. So it I don't know, it's very funny. It's a whole thing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway.
Thank you, Gordon, for coming onto the show. And then
thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
And then thank you, listener, for tuning in. This has been the short podcast about short films. Until next time, goodbye.